Hey guys, my name is Richard and I'm an Australian currently living in Hong Kong. I've been here for about 12 years, and before that I spent 5 years in Tokyo, Japan. And I have been building a side business over the last 5 years or so whilst I do my main job, which is actually I work for a church here in Hong Kong. And I also did some church work in Japan as well. And so that is my calling. That's the thing I love to do. But I have been building a side business in this Asian context over this last 5 years. And as a foreigner living in Asia, I think it is a little bit different how we do our side businesses. So anyone out there who maybe you're a missionary, maybe you're a church planter like me or anything like that, I think this is really going to apply to you and encourage you in your journey of starting a side business with helping you on the cause that you are so dedicated to. You see, for me in Hong Kong, I live in a kind of English-Chinese environment. My wife is actually from Hong Kong. She speaks English very well. My kids also speak English and Cantonese. I am hopeless with language, but I absolutely love where I live in the world. I wouldn't want to be in any other place on earth. It's just an amazing place to live. But it does bring about some challenges and some advantages with doing a side business in a foreign context, right? In Hong Kong, we call them a guilo if they're a foreigner, or in Japan, I was called a gaijin, just means foreigner. And there are some good and bad things that come with that role, and I guess I want to speak to that today and encourage you that you can actually build great side businesses even if you're in a foreign country, even if there's a whole lot of different things in your culture, you can actually make the most of it. And these things can be good if you leverage them the right way. So the first point I have, and I've got 2 points here. The first one is that there are some disadvantages to being a foreigner, and you got to avoid them. Okay. So whenever you find a disadvantage, avoid those things. You do not want to build your business in some areas where obviously you're going to be at a disadvantage. So for me, that is language. Anything language based, I struggle in. All my friends and family know, my whole church knows that I really struggle with learning languages. I tried really hard when I was living in Japan. I love Japanese people. I wanted to be able to talk to them, and I got to a basic level. I've also tried really hard in Hong Kong and spent years actually paying for lessons, but still my Cantonese is so limited. My kids speak better than me, and I just know that language is probably not going to be a strength of mine. And so for me, as I started getting into things like SEO, keywords is a big part of that. If you know anything about ranking on a search engine, you need to have the right keywords on a page. I realized very quickly, I'm not going to be able to rank Chinese pages. And so that's going to be a limitation for me. So I could only focus on English businesses within Hong Kong and overseas that were looking for English SEO services. Now, when I first started my business, I thought Hong Kong was going to be so hard to do business in. I was only thinking about Australia. And the beauty of online business is that we can look at any country in the world we can do business in, which is just so cool. And so you can start in your home country whilst you're living abroad. And that's exactly what I did. And I built out a number of websites, and I found clients in Australia. But let me tell you, it sounds good now because I still have those clients today, and that's a big part of my business. But it was so much work getting those clients, and in the end, I had to actually get some help from my dad, just as a volunteer to help me get some of those first clients, because it was just so hard to connect with them, having not being in the country. I've still never met these people to this day, and outside of a few Zooms, I just needed someone on the ground, and our time zones are different and all that kind of thing. And so I was originally looking at Australia, and then I realized that's a challenge. I did some stuff in the US. That's even worse for time zones, if you know the difference between Hong Kong and there. And then I graduated to looking for business here in Hong Kong, and it actually became easier because I could meet with people. And I'm not too bad when I'm with people face to face, and I think people can feel that I'm genuine, feel my authenticity. I can be honest with people. I can show them what I can do. People want to do business with people that they can trust. And when you're standing in front of people, you can get a quick vibe read of who that person is. And I realize I'm going to have a way better chance at building a business and building long-term business partnerships with people who are in the same city as me, who I can go and connect with if I need to. Now, I've built my business in such a way that I don't have to meet these people often. But just having a quick coffee with someone to initiate something, it is a big thing. And people want to know that they're doing business with someone close by. So I would say that there are disadvantages to doing business in a foreign country, but you've got to avoid those. And the second thing is that there are advantages to being a foreigner, and you need to exploit those advantages. So I realized very soon that some of the things that I was learning technically, I've mentioned SEO, some of the normal practices in the West, so in Australia, definitely in the US. The US is leading this in many ways in digital kind of marketing and things like this. Australia is also doing really well. Some of those best practices are hardly even implemented in my part of the world. And I've got also friends in Japan who they will take just basic things that are taught in a Western context, apply it in Japan, and there's very few local businesses that are doing those things. And so you can see a really great return on all the things that you've learned just because you're in a foreign context. And I've found that in some areas, they may be actually years behind other parts of the world. And so you can kind of arbitrage that difference, and it's a really good way of building a business. So that can be a real big advantage. Also, some things that are saturated back home can be wide open in the culture that you're in. Maybe, like I said, for me, there were things like Google Maps. I was working in Google Maps, and it was very competitive trying to get rankings and reviews overseas in Australia, in America, incredibly competitive in America. When I look at Hong Kong, it was just wide open, and I just saw opportunity everywhere. And Google was not as strict here because there was not as many people trying to scam the system, and it was just, there was opportunity here because the market wasn't saturated. And then the other thing is language. If you're in a culture where your language is different, then there's probably a need for your skills in that language, and that makes you as an entrepreneur even more valuable. Yes, it does limit you in some ways, I get that, but there's also some opportunities because you're a native speaker of your language. I assume that might be English if you're listening to this, but maybe it's not. But you would have some advantages because of language if you're in a culture that speaks a different language. So exploit those advantages, build your business around those things, and you're just going to find you're going to have an unfair advantage in the marketplace in your culture. And that's what I've been trying to do over these last few years, and it's not perfect, but I think I've made some good progress along the way, and my side business has been a real blessing to my family, and I hope that yours can too. Let me know in the comments where you are in the world. Seriously, I'd love to know where you're watching from and where you're looking at applying your cultures. I guess where are you from, and then where are you doing business in, and what that's going to look like. Reach out and let us know. So look forward to seeing you in the next video.